Hello, Jesse, Reddit. Welcome to the Sunshine List podcast.
Hello, Adam. Welcome to the Sunshine Girl podcast.
The Sunshine Girl? What's that mean?
You don't remember what the Sunshine Girl is?
Oh, like the hot girl in the newspaper?
Hot might be stretching, but she's a girl. She's in the newspaper.
Nope, this is the Sunshine List podcast where we interview every person that's on the Sunshine List. And this week we are starting with Jesse Reddit.
Oh,
Hello,
good.
Jesse.
Hello, Adam. How are you?
I'm good. So tell me about yourself and tell me about how you made the Sunshine List.
I got a job 21 years ago, and then I got another job when I was just about to be out unemployed because of the election of one Mr. Stephen Harper. And then I got one more job. And they eventually bumped the salary to over $100,000 at the top end.
I think we're going to change the format of the show and not do interview the Sunshine List. If these are the types of stories that we're in for. I got a job, and then they kept raising my salary until it was above 100,000.
That's exactly what happened. I think it started, I believe, when I got this job, the top end was 96,000.
So you couldn't
So I was safe.
Get on the list.
I could have oh no, I couldn't because we don't get paid overtime. We get lieu time. So no. Unless I got some crazy thing. Actually 4.5%.
This
maybe.
is the worst idea for a podcast
I could
ever.
have. So if I was at the top end and I got the biggest raise, just that year I would be on the Sunshine List.
So
I would have to keep getting the top raise because the salary wouldn't go up.
Is just about Jesse just philosophizing about how much money he makes, and
it's not philosophizing, it's explaining
and going like, oh well, I could have got there, but then this happened, and it was it. Now I think now is the time that I request some financing for my movie.
Okay.
And I think you're the perfect person to finance it because you have tons of money. And I'll give you the elevator pitch.
Yeah, let's do it. Give me the pitch.
It's about this roadhouse. All right. It's about this rowdy bar.
So far, I like it.
No, that's what we watched the Roadhouse from 2024, and we watched the original Roadhouse from 1989.
True.
And let's just ask the question. You watched this, I'm assuming, the first time this week, the 2024 version?
Yes.
How does it stand up in comparison to the original?
As a movie about a guy who's a bouncer in a bar and he gets mixed up with a bad guy who wants to own the town, it does all of that. But it leaves out all the things that I liked about the original, the philosophy, I guess the romance, the fact that he has like an older mentor, Wade Garrett.
Yeah, it was strange they didn't have a character like that in the remake. Very strange, I thought.
It just seemed like they took out all of the extra stuff, but which is the stuff I like, all the sort of the details.
I would bet that people like the Sam Elliott character a lot. And so I find it strange that they didn't have that an equivalent character. So
And
I
there
don't know
would
if
have
it's
been,
extra
yeah.
stuff. I think that was probably, I think that really would have, that made the first one so lovable.
Yeah, I guess you would say extra stuff that wouldn't be in the elevator pitch, right? The details, the stuff that makes it a deeper, if you can say that, film. They took all that out, and you're like, oh, this is what Roadhouse would have been like if they didn't sort of take you fully into the world and make you feel like you were a part of it, like you were a part of the story and a part of the town. Like you feel for these people, you feel for this town, and you hate the bad guy, an amazing bad guy, Ben Gazzara, and the
Was
new one.
that
I'm like,
okay? I didn't know who Ben Gazzara was. Is that the first
he's
one? That's the
Brad
first one.
Wesley, yeah, the bad guy,
Okay.
yeah. But and I couldn't have cared less about the bad guy in the new one. Like I kept waiting in the whole movie for a cool actor to pop up. Like you would think there would be more than one, or I guess two famous people in this movie. Like I kept waiting for like a surprise, like a Wade Garrett character or the bad guy, or I may have missed this, but does the bad guy's father ever show up?
No.
I was waiting for the bad guy's father to be like, I don't know, fuck Alec Baldwin or
Yeah.
somebody. Like he should have showed up at the end
Yeah.
and been like, I'm the real bad guy. And then you would have been like, oh shit. Or like somebody to show up as Wade Garrett, have like, I don't know who it could be, but you could have
So
some cool older guy.
you didn't look to see who did the voice of his father.
No. Who did the voice of his
I
father?
don't know. I don't know, but I was listening to it and I was trying to figure out who's doing the voice of the father because
Mm.
they're setting that up. And I thought, as well as you, that he was going to come in at some point in the movie.
Hmm.
Um, but now, after having seen it, I'm like, oh, maybe they're setting that up for the sequel. But I wonder if they actually got a famous person to do the voice. And for some reason, I thought it sounded like Vince Vaughn. But I'm like, would he be old enough? I don't know if Vince Vaughn would be old enough to be that guy's father. I don't think he would be.
I think he's got to be in his mid to late 50s.
Is that old enough?
I guess, because that guy was maybe in his early 30s.
I guess you could, yeah, early 30. I guess it could make sense, but yeah.
And
Um,
that would have been cool. I like the Vince Vaughn
it just
idea.
sound
Like,
that's what the voice that I heard. I'm like, is that Vince Vaughn doing the voice? Like that would make sense that they got a famous person to play the part because I was waiting for a famous actor
mhm.
too to show up and do a cameo.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. And it just seemed like they did the movie and they just said like we don't need all the other stuff. Like we're gonna make this just a straight up movie, and I don't know, maybe that's how they make movies these days. I don't know. Um, but it felt like Roadhouse, but with something missing. I liked some of the fights. They had a cool way of filming the fights, and there were some things I read. I don't understand uh the technical aspects of them, but they did some cool things with that. I like the new location. I like the Florida Keys thing because that's another kind of weird place where the sort of outcasts and strange people live. I like the new setting. I like that there was boats, I guess. Um, but other than that, it just felt like, what's the fucking point? Um,
Okay, so this is so I could keep asking you questions, but I'm gonna flip it and ask myself some questions. Adam, what did you like about it? Well, I liked it actually. This is the first time that I had seen either Roadhouse movie, so I watched them in a different order. I watched the remake first to see if I would really like it more than I liked the original, just because of the order that I was seeing them in. And I was about 44 minutes into the remake, and I was like, I'm really enjoying this. And because I'd never seen the original, so I had nothing to compare it to. I had no expectations at all. I didn't know what was going to happen.
mhm.
Um, but I was really enjoying it. I was like, oh, this Jake Gyllenhaal guy, he's really likable. He's a likable character, I thought.
He was
And
likable.
I liked the setting as well, just like you just said, that it's in
Hmm.
Florida. I think that's a big subconscious reason that I never wanted to watch the original because I'm like, it's going to
Mm.
take place in some kind of country, dusty, white trash bin, shitty Arkansas town or
Which
something.
it does. Yeah, that's a perfect description of it.
And I didn't want to watch it because of that. And I think
Mhm.
that was a subconscious reason because as I was watching this, I'm like, oh, this is in Florida, the Florida Keys. I'm like, that's way better. It's a way better
Mhm.
setting. Um, and so I was enjoying it. 44 minutes in. What else did I like about it at that point?
So
Uh,
would you say
even
that's
the
about the time that Conor McGregor shows up is 44 minutes into the movie?
I'm not even sure if he's shown up yet. I don't think he had.
Okay.
I also even liked the music. They were paying attention to the different live bands that they were having in the place.
Hmm.
And I don't care about music, and I didn't really care about that type of music. But I was
Hmm.
like, I'll listen. I'll hear them out. They're giving a little
Sure.
bit of a history, so I even like that part
Yeah.
of it. And right after that, I wrote those notes down. And then right after that, they have this weird CGI truck scene where the truck tries to hit him and it's
Oh,
like really
yeah.
weird, like fucking the way they do it. And I'm like, was that just
Yeah.
terrible? Did I just see something terrible? And then the truck like backs up and then they're like the camera speeds up or they start drawing a cartoon truck or something and then it backs him off the back of the bridge. And I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was. It was a weird sequence of action. And then pretty much after that, they distracted me so much that it was tough for me to get back into the movie. But then by the
Hmm.
end, I can take it or leave it. It wasn't anything too special. I was enjoying it up till that, and then it fucking threw
Yeah.
me off. Um,
Yeah, it could be. I think that's because that's a lot of the road, like the first Roadhouse, in that you're setting up a reason for him to be there. You're setting up a reason for him to stay there. You're setting up people for him to protect. And you're kind of setting up and you've set up the bad guys, but you're not really sure how he's going to handle it. You're not sure if he's going to go on the offensive. You're not sure if he's going to go on the defensive. You're not really sure what's going to happen up until
in
that
which
point.
movie? I don't know what we're talking
Well,
about.
in both movies, right? So that's kind of how it plays out in both movies. Is
Yeah,
that you're
okay.
not sure how bad the bad guy is, and you're not sure what lengths Dalton will go to fend them off, and you're not even sure what he's capable of. Like, how is he going to fight all of these guys? And in the new Roadhouse, one of the problems is that none of the bad guys are scary. None of the bad guys seem like they could hurt you. Like they all seem easily defeatable because he defeats pretty much all of them in the first 20 minutes.
Hmm.
And you're like, okay, I guess he could just keep doing this again. In the old Roadhouse, they keep bringing in new bad guys,
Yeah.
and which they do with Conor McGregor. And like for the first 10 minutes of Conor McGregor being on screen, I don't know what he said.
Okay.
It was just it sounded like he learned his lines phonetically, like he doesn't know English
Right.
and just spat them out. And I was like, what is going on? This is insane.
Huh.
Like I think they should have taught him maybe how to act because he was just doing like crazy shit. And you're like, is this the movie? Like that's when it lost me. When Conor McGregor showed up and just kind of took over the movie, and you're like, is this what I want to watch?
Hmm.
Like he's just strutting around yelling things that are indecipherable.
Well, I had no problem understanding what he was saying, so I can't relate to you there. But I didn't care
Okay.
about him as a bad guy either.
Hmm.
He showed up, and they didn't really give me a reason to care about or fear him, I guess would be the right way. Like to think,
Yeah.
oh shit, he's trouble. Like
Hmm.
Jake Gyllenhaal's in trouble now. Doesn't matter
Yeah,
how sexy he is.
that's right.
He's got to deal with Conor McGregor.
Sexy
Um,
is no match.
uh, but yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, he was sexy, man.
He was, and I think that's a really good sort of um
What?
nod back to the first Roadhouse,
Okay.
and that Patrick Swayze was at that time like the number one sex symbol.
Yeah,
He
but
just
the
done
whole
Dirty Dancing.
the joke in the movie is that it's the joke in the movie is that he's too little, or they keep saying that in the original. They're
Right,
like, "Oh, I thought you'd be bigger," and in this one, no
right.
one could say that to Jake Gyllenhaal. No one could say, "I thought you'd be bigger."
Yeah, and I don't know how big he really is, but he looks like he's in incredible shape and that he could definitely beat people up.
He was
And when
ridiculous,
Yeah, and when you see
ridiculous.
Patrick Swayze, you do have to wonder how believable this is that he's beating people up. But he was like a huge sex symbol, and he was taking care of himself and all that. He had some muscles, but Jake Gyllenhaal has 2024 muscles. Like nobody back then would have just gotten the kind of muscles Jake Gyllenhaal has for a part.
No, and but that's it. That's okay in the first one that he doesn't have a lot of muscles, and people keep joking like I thought you'd be bigger because then you don't
Yeah,
really know what to expect. You're like, why is he such a big bat? And they do a good job with that first scene where somebody pulls a knife and he like grabs their hand, takes the knife out, smashes their head through a table, and then
yeah.
everyone in the bar is like, "Whoa, that was crazy! That was nuts! What we just saw!" And then you're like, "Oh, he's a real badass." Um,
Yeah, and you kind of believe that too, like not because he was so big, but you believe that he was quick
yeah,
and that he had martial arts skills.
sure, yeah.
So I don't know. There's definitely a spot in my heart for the first Roadhouse movie.
So,
Um,
bottom line,
yeah,
2024. How does it hold up?
it's fine.
Fine.
I'm not mad that it was made.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they made some poor choices. I don't think the script was as good as it could have been. The Wade Garrett character was missing. Um, a lot of his connection with the townspeople was missing.
Okay, I agree with you. I think the bad guy, the young bad guy, kind of sucked as a young bad guy. I never felt like he was any threat.
Awful.
Conor McGregor didn't care about him either. Never felt
No.
like he was a real threat either. Didn't find him funny. I guess you're supposed to find him maybe funny, but scary. I don't even know what they're going for with him.
That's a good question. What are they going for?
I don't know. I don't know. But my biggest problem with the movie is the credits. This is 2024 credits. Let's talk about
Hmm.
2024 credits, Jesse, in
Okay, let's
movies
do it.
now.
Right.
Well, what do you see here? What do you see?
Are we talking about the end credits?
Yeah. What else? What other credit? The beginning credits. No, the end credits.
I don't know. I couldn't remember if there was beginning credits. The end credits, what do I see? I see a lot of weird like CG um enhancement to the scenes that were in there.
Okay, you
There was a
don't
little
even they
post-credit
always
sequence.
they do the post credit sequence, but they
Hmm.
also they now we're doing Marvel credits. Every single movie they
Yeah.
do graphic stuff
Yeah.
when where they show the actors and they show images that have taken place in the movie, or I don't know what they're showing, but they always do the same sequence now. It used to be just fade
Yeah.
out, cut to black, roll the credits, and everyone
Right.
got up and left the theater
Yeah.
or turned it off.
Yeah.
But now they do this thing every single fucking movie that comes out today. They do this action sequence while they're showing you the actors. And then when that gets done, you know there's going to be some sort of stupid fucking post credit scene that I don't care. Conor
Yeah.
McGregor is alive. Who cares? Actually,
Yes.
I was actually mad. I'm like, I wish he was dead. I don't want to see him in the sequel. And they're setting it up for a sequel. And I'm like, this
Well,
is
and I was sure that the post-credit sequence would be the bad guy father.
well,
Like,
whatever. I don't care about the I don't want to see the post credit scene. I don't want there to be one. I don't want you to be always setting me up for a sequel. It's just like now it's like, oh, this is just a money machine. You're not
Yeah,
actually making movies anymore. You're now thinking about how Marvel did it. I don't
yeah,
know. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed with how they're doing movies these days. It's like now I'm thinking you're planning, you're just trying to get lucky and get this what's the franchise? John Wick type of
yeah,
luck that you stumble
yeah.
into with, oh, we can just keep making these until everybody's dead. We just keep cranking out money. I don't like it.
Did John Wick have post-credit sequences?
No, I don't think they did. I wasn't comparing it for the credits. I'm just they just
No,
John Wick
I
all
know.
of a
I
sudden
was.
they just kept cranking out movies and people just kept going back
Yeah,
and
it just made me think of that. But
Fast and the
you're.
Furious.
Yeah, I don't like post-credit sequences. I'm fine if you set up a sequel before the credits roll, because that's a ballsier way of doing it. Is saying this movie's so good, we're not even going to hide or whatever, pretend that we're not going to set it up. We're going to set it up before the credits roll, and then we're going to cut to the credits.
You know what I
I
guess
would
I just don't
rather they
like
do that.
how everybody follows everybody else.
Hmm.
I like leaders. I don't like followers. And it just seems like everybody's just following now. And the reason I say that is because I remember years ago watching Star Wars, the third Star Wars movie, and it finished, and nobody left the theater. I got up, and everyone's like, "What are you standing up for?" And I'm like, "I'm
Yeah,
leaving." And everybody's like, "No, we're waiting for the post-credit scenes." And I'm like, "Star Wars has never had post-credit scenes. Are they going to do?" Then I felt dumb, and then I had to like Google it after I got home. Like, was there a post-credit scene? Because I'm like, everybody's been
yeah,
conditioned to
yeah.
watch movies a certain way. And now, same thing. Dune, I saw Dune. Nobody got up. I was the only one that got up and left the theater. And I don't
Dune
know if there
2?
was, yeah, I don't know if there was a
That's what
post.
happened to me.
What, you left?
Yeah, I was like, I was with my dad, and I was like, "Let's go."
And he didn't want to
I
leave?
No, he was just like, "Okay,"
Yeah,
but he didn't think to go because everyone else was still sitting there,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna fucking stick around even if there's a post credit scene. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Or I'll watch it eventually. Like I do
Yeah,
like I did love Dune, but I don't want to see
yeah, very good.
I didn't just want to be like everybody else. Everybody else is just looking around to be like, should we leave yet? And nobody's
Yeah,
standing up, so everyone just is like, I guess we have to wait for post-credit scenes now. And they know people don't want to sit there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, however long
yeah,
credits take. They know people, so they do this graphic scene, and they now we've all got this understanding between us and the filmmakers that okay, we'll just do a short thing, we'll call them credits,
yeah,
we'll keep flashy images happening so that you don't get bored, and then after
yeah,
that we're still calling it post credits. God, I just hate it. Like Marvel did it. Marvel is cool. They were smart. They did some exciting things. We all got excited
yeah,
by it.
yeah,
But now it's just like, well, now that's built in. That's how you make a movie today. All right.
yeah. No,
I
I agree with you. They shouldn't have copied that. They shouldn't expect, they shouldn't have you expecting a post-credit sequence on every movie.
yeah, every
That bothers
movie.
me. Everything. Yeah.
It actually cheapens the movie for me. I'm thinking
Yeah.
of a movie that I rather liked, Don't Look Up,
Okay.
and that one had like a post credit scene, and I'm like, really? I don't know.
Mm.
This movie just went down in my opinion.
Yeah. And the weird
Just
thing
because
about
I
it,
feel like they're following cookie cutter, like
yeah.
so now they're not being original with their because they're just doing what? Go ahead.
No, no, and the weird thing about it on streaming is that it stays like full screen if there's going to be a post-credit scene. So you know, because usually it goes to the little box, right? It shrinks down and then it shows you another movie to watch. But if it doesn't do
Oh,
that, you know that there's going to be a
I see.
post-credit scene.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So they're telegraphing it too, and you're like, all right, fine. Now I have to stay here and watch the post-credit scene because the little box didn't shrink down.
Hmm.
And it angers me. It's like they first of all they should leave the credits up. That's number one. They should always leave the credits up. I can hit escape
Yeah, yeah,
or back or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like I'm not an idiot.
Right.
I don't need you to tell me the movie's over
Yeah.
by shrinking the box. If I want to watch the credits, I will. If I don't, I won't. Like it's fucking streaming.
Yeah, and that's Netflix just being like, well, we can't let them leave.
Yeah.
We have to do everything with our computer powers, just like TV used to do. TV, they'd roll credits and they know that people would get up and then move on with their lives. So they're like,
Hmm.
well, don't, when the credits are rolling, we'll split the screen in half and we'll have the news like coming up tonight on the news.
Yeah.
Uh, don't get caught without your umbrella. I don't know. They used to say. Um, I don't know. This is I did enjoy it. I liked the movie, but I had no expectations and I so then I sat down to buckle in and
Yeah.
watch the original and I really didn't know. I thought I might be coming in here
Yeah.
being like, "You know what? I like the first one better. I mean the remake better. I like
Yeah.
the remake better just because I
Right.
watched it first." But I didn't. I enjoyed the original much more, much more.
Yeah.
And
Why is that?
I didn't even know if I'd like the original at all. Not even based
Yeah.
on, well, I saw the Jake Gyllenhaal one, so what do I need the original one for?
Right.
But it was just better set up.
Yeah.
Sam Elliott was better
Amazing.
to have that character. Um, Mostly it would be that well shit, Dalton. I don't know the original guy's name, Patrick Swayze. Um,
Patrick Swayze.
he uh he comes in and it makes sense. At the
Yeah.
beginning, the guy who's wealthy and he owns a bar and he's trying to not have it go under based on hooligans, and he goes and he
Yeah.
finds the best guy in the country. He's well known.
Yep.
He finds him and he offers him a ton of money. And then Patrick
Hmm.
Swayze says, "Okay, I got a job to do. I've done it a million times. This will be just a million and one. I'll do it. I'll take the money and I'll come to your town and I'll clean it up." And he comes
Yep.
in and he's got a plan. The first, I like the car thing they did at the beginning where he goes and he buys
Yeah.
a beater and he
Yep.
drives into work because he knows he's been there before and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He starts scouting out the place and he spots people with that are stealing, people that are not doing their job, people that are dealing drugs, and he fires them
Yep.
all the next day. Like I liked it. I liked
Yeah.
following along with him and figuring out how smart he is and how good he is and all the cool things that he does that he anticipates. But then he's got a murderous bad guy. You're like, oh, he's never been up a guy against a guy who's going to murder
Yeah.
him. So
Yep.
he does have his work cut out for him. I like the whole thing. And then I'm
Yeah.
comparing it to Jake Gyllenhaal. I bet you people hated this fucking remake because Jake Gyllenhaal,
Mm.
he turns down the job.
Yep.
And then they're like, but I really need you. Here's a bunch of money. He's like, I don't want the money. I'm not interested. And then he goes to kill himself.
Right.
And then he decides at the last second, I guess I won't kill myself. I'll just take the job. So then you're like,
Yeah.
why does he care about this bar when he gets there? And he doesn't appear to care. He sits at the end of the
No.
bar. People are fighting, and he's just like, I guess I'll do something about it. I'm just so awesome. I guess I'll
Yeah.
do something. And then I'm like, yeah, that sucks. As a way to
Yeah.
write the movie, it's not good. It's better to have a guy who's just been offered a ton of money and he doesn't want to
Yeah.
quit.
Yeah.
And I
He's got a
realized
job.
it's a 2024 thing where the
Hmm.
audience can't root for a guy who's just motivated by money. That's my opinion. I don't think
Yeah.
today that you can
Hmm.
have a hero character with no
Mm.
redemption or you've got to have him um, about to kill himself and then he finds
Right.
redemption in some little girl that he meets in the town that he finds affection for and now that's the reason that he's doing it. But back
Hmm.
then in the 80s he was offered a bunch of money and he's the best. He better get the job done. I like it better.
Yeah, and you touched a little bit on it, but the suicidal thing, they don't really play on that except for that 1 second of him stopping the car in the train tracks. He doesn't seem depressed. He gets stabbed, which is a good sequence. He gets stabbed and the knife is in him, and then he's sewing himself back up or whatever, just like in the original Roadhouse. He doesn't seem sad. He doesn't seem depressed. He doesn't seem like he hates himself. And then out of nowhere, he decides to kill himself. And then out of nowhere, he decides to take the job. And you're like,
Was he drunk too? Was he drinking when he's on the tracks? I can't remember.
no, I don't think he drinks at all in the
Okay.
movie.
I wasn't sure because that's like that would be a typical thing you'd throw in there that he was drunk and he's drinking a bottle out of a
Hmm.
brown paper bag while he's on the tracks. And then he's like, no, I'll just do. But then he gets to the bar and he's just suddenly sober. So I was wondering if that was a huge, made no sense. But
Well, and he's suddenly not suicidal. Like, I don't think you go from trying to kill yourself to perfectly fine and joking around all the time.
mhm.
He doesn't seem to have that many demons other than obviously he killed a guy in the ring or whatever, but they just don't play it like it's so much better in the first one, like you said, that he's doing a job. He's the best. He's got to go in, he's got to clean it up. He's got all the tips and tricks, like you said.
Hmm.
And he's also got the philosophy, which shows you why he doesn't the violence isn't something that he likes. Like you see all these other people, like Terry Funk's character, who he fires. He loves violence.
Yeah.
The bad guy henchman, he loves violence. But Patrick Swayze just, it's not that he's a pacifist, but he just doesn't like violence. But it's just part of his job. It's not
Right.
his way of life.
I agree with you 100%, and that's another stupid thing because then in the remake, he's like, I don't. Nobody wins in a fight. It might be the same
Mhm.
line they use in both movies, but he says something like, "Nobody wins when there's a fight," and it's like,
Yeah.
you're a UFC
You're
fighter.
a UFC
What
fighter,
are you
yeah.
talking about?
That's the whole point is
I
that somebody wins.
I didn't realize how dumb it was that he says that,
Yeah,
and that's his philosophy until watching
yeah,
the original. And I'm like, oh, the philosophy
yes,
makes sense in the
right.
original. They just tried
Yeah.
to use the same philosophy, but have it make no fucking sense in the remake. I bet you people were pissed about this remake.
Yeah, like they tried to shoehorn all that kind of thing into the remake, except for his background with philosophy and stuff like that, but they tried to shoehorn it all in and then it didn't make any sense. Like I would have rather they took it in a different direction. Like he likes fighting because he does seem to like fighting.
I agree that would I would have been much better with that. I would have been much cooler with that. Like
Like he would just be in his element with this.
yeah,
It just seemed like they tried to have it both ways. Like try to hew to the original and try to make it different. And I would have rather that they made it different. I don't know. I think the worst thing that they did was that Conor McGregor bullshit.
hmm
Like they needed to find something more original than that. Like it would have been better if the bad guy could actually fight or was scary or something. But they just and I didn't dislike it. Like if I saw the movie, I would have said, it's okay. And if I hadn't seen the original, and I would have said, it's all right. It's not great. It looks a little bit cheap, even though it costs like $70 million. It looks kind of cheap. Like there's not a lot of production value. Like they're in the same place most of the time. Like it looks like kind of a straight to video movie, even though it's a pretty big budget movie.
Okay, I don't have an opinion on the production value. I don't really think about that. I like the setting. I like the remake setting in
Yes.
Florida as
Yeah,
opposed
the
to the
setting's good.
dusty trash bin Arkansas.
Yeah, and I do like a sort of a redneck movie. It kind of I don't know. I have a soft spot for a redneck movie with
I
and
know.
because you can get away with a lot more silly characters and things like that
Meh.
when you have a redneck movie. And I know
Maybe I've
that that's
seen too
not
many of them.
maybe you well you yeah maybe you have. And you also lived out in the country too, so it's not an accurate representation of your country life
Maybe,
as much.
maybe subconsciously I'm slightly offended by these characters, but I don't, I don't think so. But I guess that's why it's called subconsciously.
Hmm. It could be, but it's also not for everybody. The whole hillbilly thing.
I just
But
don't
yeah,
like I just don't like dryness. That's what I think of. I don't like deserts. I don't like dry. I don't like the sun.
Dalton did live beside a nice river, though.
Yeah, you know what? I liked his place. I actually thought his place that he rented, I thought it was too
Yeah,
nice. And the farmer's like, "Well, what do you like $5 a month or something?" Like he gives him
yeah,
such a low number, and I'm like,
yeah.
"I'd live in that place for that. That's great."
It's pretty amazing that place. Yeah, like it's all open and it's really nice. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
not bad.
All right. Let's take a little detour. Um
Hmm.
I was listening to a podcast you might be interested in. You remember
Sure.
Barry Sherman and Honey Sherman? Barry and Honey Sherman?
Oh, yeah, they got murdered and nobody can figure out why or how or whatever, right?
Right. So you already know you're not listening to a podcast where they have solved it, right? That's just a podcast
Right.
because I knew they got murdered and I knew that a lot of people were interested in it, but I didn't know the background, the interesting stuff that I thought I'm for sure going to hear some interesting shit listening to this podcast about
Yeah.
it. So yeah, I found it pretty interesting. But the one thing I wanted to tell you is it made me laugh out loud. Um, so the one of the first guys they talked to is like a maintenance guy who was there. The he worked like his entire shift at their
Yeah.
house when they were like
Right.
dead on the other side of the wall.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
so they talk to this guy and they're like, they start talking to him because they don't know. They go, there was a guy there that day and he worked the whole day and then left. Yep. Well, let's get him on tape. So they record him, they do a little interview, and then for some reason, all of a sudden he goes, "Well, you know, this goes deeper than anyone can imagine." And the interviewer is like, "Oh yeah, really?" And he's like, "Yeah, you don't even know how deep this goes. Like, I'm scared. I'm scared about this." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Well, it's I can tell you what I believe, and it's about COVID." And
Oh, no.
they knew that Barry had he's a pharmaceutical guy, so they knew that he had the COVID stuff at his house, and they were going there to get it. And she's like, "Oh, okay." And first thing I thought was
Oh,
COVID.
yeah.
Is that it? Is it that recent that this happened? And
Yeah.
then I'm like,
I
I
didn't think
don't
so.
think it was that recent. And I looked it up and it was in 2017 they got murdered. COVID hadn't even happened yet.
So does
So,
he think this is like a pre-COVID like
yes, he's gone
conspiracy?
so deep into the conspiracy in
Oh
his crazy
no.
mind that he's like, Barry knew there was going to be COVID and he had some sort of antidote at his house and they killed him to shut him up or whatever. So they start the thing off and they're like, yeah, well, we're going to go down some different paths here about theories and about people that might have been involved and what might have happened, but we might just leave the COVID one aside for now. Oh, that was great. But it just made me sad.
Uh,
It made me sad for
yeah.
maintenance people. You're just giving them a
I
bad
mean,
name. It's like if
yeah.
they interviewed some farmer and he started being like, yeah, well, I also believe that there's ghosts and goblins that terrorize us every night and stuff. And you're like, oh. And I also, another thing was this guy goes, so the interviewer makes a joke. She goes, so you don't believe that the Clintons were involved, right? Hillary Clinton
Oh
wasn't
no.
involved. And he goes, well, apparently not. Apparently she has an alibi. Like he takes her question
She's
seriously.
got an alibi.
He actually does think that Hillary Clinton might have had something to do with
Oh
it.
my God. Like like she has an alibi for not doing the actual murders. Like he found where she was on that day. Like
It's
he
just
thought, oh,
sad.
maybe she just popped over to Toronto and murdered some people.
You're like, oh.
Wow.
And he says, like, well, honey was always yelling at me. And that's she was a very interesting person. And you get the impression that she was like, do it right this time, you fucking idiot, because he's probably an idiot because he believes
Yeah,
that Hillary Clinton might have done it, and
yeah.
the ghost might have done it, and the COVID conspiracy might have caused it and stuff. But there is a bunch of pharmaceutical shit in there that's interesting.
Is there?
So
Okay. That
if you
does sound like a good podcast.
if you have any interest in it, I would recommend it to you. It's got a dumb name though. It's like
Okay.
the no good, terribly kind,
What?
the no good, terribly kind deeds of Barry and Honey Sherman, the
Oh my.
evil killing murder podcast. I don't know. It's got such a long dumb name. It's a CBC podcast,
Okay.
uh, but I'm pretty sure it has no good, terribly kind in the title somewhere, and then there's a bunch of other
Hmm.
words. But
Yeah, that's a weird case that every like 6 months they bring it back and they're like, "Oh, this thing could have happened," and they write an article on it, and then it just goes away.
I
And
haven't
then
heard
six
about it
months
for
later,
years, years.
in the Star, I guess they'll write an article and be like, "Oh, it could be a hitman,"
Mm.
and then and then it'll go away, and then they'll write an article and be like, "Could be they just fell," and then and it'll go away or whatever. But yeah, it's sort of one of those unsolved mysteries,
Yep.
which is strange because you always think, like I always think, there's no way you can get away with murder right now. Like there's so many cameras, there's so much forensic techniques and things like that. Like I think there's no way. And
Mhm.
then these people just like walked into a rich person's house and murdered them.
Yeah, and there's that's the other thing. They called it murder suicide at the beginning. And then it took
Yeah.
them something like 6 weeks before they said it's not murder suicide. Like the very first thing that the cop went out and said, there's no danger to the public. No one should
Hmm.
be afraid. We know what happened here. And then the family was like, no fucking way, murder suicide, absolutely not. And then they put money and pressure, and then
Oh,
eventually the cops said, you're right, it probably wasn't, but there was no sign of break and enter. So, and I
yeah.
don't know this, I don't even think they've said it on the podcast, like how they were found, like what was done to them. So it's an
Mhm.
interesting thing. Anyways, I thought I'd throw it out there, but I love the guy saying like, well, with COVID, and the interviewer just kind of being like, because I'm sure the interviewer went, but
Yeah.
that happened 2 years after,
Yeah.
and she didn't want to get into it and be like, but she must have had the same thought in her mind that I did. Like, are you a fucking moron? I guess we won't entertain any more of your theories if that's the first one that comes to mind.
That's the difference, I think, between us and
Don't say,
journalists.
oh, sunshine list people and maintenance workers. Is that what you were gonna say?
No, that's the difference between
Jesse.
people like you and I and journalists, is that journalists want to focus on the actual facts, and you and I would have been like, I want to talk to this guy's fucking COVID theories.
No, you
Like
wouldn't
you and
have.
I would have, oh, we
You
would have
wouldn't
gone
have.
down there. Oh, for sure,
I
because I'm
wouldn't
not a
have.
journalist. I don't care about the truth.
No,
I want to
immediately
hear
I'm like,
somebody's crazy theories.
I don't want to hear them. It's just it makes me sad for him and every other maintenance worker out there. It's like, I'm not as dumb as that guy. Don't put me in the same camp as him. He's a fucking idiot.
I don't know if it makes maintenance workers look bad, but it
It
definitely
did.
makes him look bad.
It did. And he's like, why is Honey always yelling at me? It's because you probably fuck up a lot of stuff if you're this
You
dumb.
fuck up a lot. I have an entry in one of our semi-regular things that we talk about, the cliches in movies.
Hmm.
I was watching a movie today, which it wasn't very good, called The Iron Claw.
Right.
Um, and one guy said, when another guy was coughing up blood, he said, "Are you okay?" And the guy said, "Never better."
Oh,
Whenever someone says never better in a movie to the question, they're going to die within 5 minutes.
oh, really?
There's absolutely no doubt. I'm sure I've seen it because when I saw it, I was like, he said never better, he's going to die. And then like 2 minutes later, he was dead.
Oh, I've never noticed that one. I've noticed whenever somebody coughs in a movie, they're dead. For sure, they're
Yep.
gonna die of cancer,
Yes.
either one scene
Yep.
or 10 scenes later, but they're gonna die.
Yeah. Yep.
They don't just leave coughs in movies. They're always on purpose.
For the
But
most part, yeah.
coughing up blood kind of threw me. I'm picturing somebody coughing up blood. Are you okay? Never better doesn't seem like the right response when you're coughing up blood, unless it's sarcastic.
No, they were like these tough guy wrestlers, I guess.
Okay.
And the one guy was he'd gotten like the break of a lifetime, but I think he died because he was injecting steroids and shit into himself. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, but he's like over a toilet coughing up blood, and his brother's like, "What the fuck's going on? Like, are you okay?" And he's like, "Never better." And I knew at that point he had like 5 minutes to live in the movie.
It still sounds like he's being sarcastic. Like, can't you see him about to die? Are you saying that?
No, no. He was
Uh,
like, "No, I've never been better. I'm great."
but he has blood on his mouth.
I know, but he was trying to pretend that he wasn't dying or
I
that he
don't know.
didn't have something wrong with him because he'd been doing all these, I think, steroids and things like that,
Having a
or
tough
whatever.
time picture this cliche, Jesse, but okay, I'll give it to you.
I would tell you to watch the movie,
Nah.
but it would be a waste of your time.
Yeah, not worth it.
Um, but no, I've seen it like a million times when somebody says, "Are you okay?" and the person says, "Never better," and then they die.
Yeah, if they don't have blood on your mouth, I would be like, oh, this is an interesting cliche, but the blood is throwing me off. I don't know.
All right.
Uh,
I have
I want to tell you
go,
something else. Liam Neeson
please.
has become the mark of shit to me. His brand is
Mm-hmm.
if it's got Liam Neeson in this movie, the
That's
movie's
right.
gonna suck. And that's a
Yeah.
shame because I love Liam Neeson movies from the 90s and
Right.
stuff. And he
Yeah.
used to be a mark of quality, but he's become the mark of shit. And I just
True.
saw, oh, there's a new one out, The Land of Saints and Sinners. It was good. It
Okay.
was good.
Really?
Yeah.
The
But
land of saints and
only reason
sinners.
I watched it was because the headline said Liam Neeson's 8 movie track record of terrible Rotten Tomatoes reviews is has finally changed with The Land of Satan
Oh,
Sitter. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna check
well,
it out then. I liked it. It was good.
what's it about?
He's in Ireland, so it's got a different setting than you
Okay.
would think. He's
Yeah.
not like
Right.
some ice road trucker. Uh,
Yep.
that movie, fuck, the one where he's an ice road trucker.
I didn't even watch that one.
Holy fuck. There was some stuff. I can't remember it at all, but I wrote down a bunch of shit. I'm like, I gotta tell Jesse about this. And then I never remembered to tell you, but oh my God. Um, it's in Ireland, so I think it might be in the 70s, maybe. So
Okay.
that there's some bombing and shit going on in
The
Ireland.
Troubles.
And so there's some people that are in his town. He's a
Mhm.
hitman. That's explained right at the beginning. See, I try to do this strategically so that it doesn't give too much away, but he's a
Sure.
hitman, and I think he's getting to the end of his hitman career. Oh, it's got
Right?
Joffrey from Game of Thrones in it.
Oh, Joffrey.
He's trying to wear a mustache so people don't
Oh no.
recognize that it's him and hate him. But he still plays a pretty hateable character. But the characters have a little bit more depth to them. I guess that's part of the reasons that I liked it. So I don't know. Check it out.
Okay. I will check it out. I watched a movie that you should not check out that's very similar to that actually, called Fast Charlie with Pierce Brosnan. Don't watch it.
Oh, I think I already did.
Okay. Well, you if you did, you would have forgotten about it because it was pretty bad.
Yeah, does he get like a really young hot girl to say that she's going to Italy with him or something?
No, I
Maybe I
don't
didn't
think
see it.
so. Um, no, what does he do? He's a hitman and he's kind of like at the end of his career and
Yeah, he's got a
he's
friend who's like who he sticks up for. His friend is his friend in a wheelchair and he's a famous actor.
James Caan.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. He's that's not his friend, it's like his boss
Yeah, but he's
and
their
he's
friends. They're friends in the movie.
their friend yeah, okay. Yeah, so I guess you have seen it, but it's not I did not enjoy it. Plus, it James Caan did not look good in that movie.
No, he didn't. I agree.
He
But I doesn't okay.
he looked like Richard Lewis in the the new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Like they both look like that you're on your way out, which is sad.
It's sad. So, but in your opinion, you would say, sorry, Richard, you look too shitty. We can't let your dying wish go fulfilled because
No,
because
I would say it's just sad that both of them
it's
look like they were dying and then did die.
yeah, a
That's
little
all I'm saying.
distracting to you.
It
Yeah,
was distracting. Like
yeah,
it's distracting that Richard Lewis was, I don't know, a couple weeks
yeah,
away from dying probably when he filmed his last scene.
yeah.
It's very distracting.
It's distracting, but I also feel good about it. I'm like, at least he got to go out doing that right up until the end. I get the
Yeah,
feeling that he was like, well, it's over. I'm
yeah,
done. I got nothing
yeah.
else to live for, and
It's
checked out.
true. It's true. Even though he didn't do any improvising, like I don't think he made a joke in the whole season so far that I've seen.
Yeah.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. But I was happy to see him, and I was kind of happy to see James Caan. He also didn't do much in the movie, but that movie was not
You
great.
sure he doesn't get some young hot girl and they run away together at the end?
But how young? What do you mean by young? Because Marina Baccarin's like 50 years old.
Oh,
And
okay.
yes, she is hot, but when you said young, I was like, no, I don't think so.
In my mind, I was
She's
picturing somebody half her age, but you're right. She's not that young, but
she's older than we are for sure.
no, I don't think she
She
is.
was in okay, so she was in Firefly
And
in
she was like
2001.
fucking 17 when she was in that.
Now I'm gonna look it up
I'm
just
joking
to
about
fucking
17.
prove you wrong.
I'll bet you she was 21 in Firefly. How much do you want to bet?
Ooh.
Okay. Well,
Ten
let's
dollars. $10. I'm
that
looking it up. I'm looking it up.
I gotta hit it dead on for 10 bucks.
No, okay, I'll give you a 3-year range. What would you
Okay.
say?
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. What's your 3-year range?
I said 21. So either
Okay,
18 to
20.
18 to 24 and I win.
No, a 3 years is in like 20, 21, or 22.
Okay, fine.
I'm
20,
not giving you a
21 or
6-year
22.
range. Is that what you want to go with?
Yes. I'll give you the
Okay,
10
let's see.
bucks because he was 23.
Let's see. Now we have to figure out what her age is. Hold on. She was born. Holy shit. She's a fetching lady. Um
All
I,
right. I'm going to
oh,
talk about
1979.
Firefly came out in 2004, 2000.
Uh Firefly came out in 2001, I think. So I think you're right.
Boom.
So 79, 89, 99, 21 or 22. Yeah, I think you're
Okay.
right.
You can do the math off the air and send me my check in the mail.
Hold on.
Uh, oh my God. Come on.
Hold on.
What do you mean?
I'm trying to figure out exactly
I said do
what
it off. You can't do the math. I know you can't.
Firefly 2002. So I think I win. I think she was 23.
Wow.
2002 to 2003.
All right. I'll send you the $10.
I
Uh,
don't want the $10.
oh no, I will if you're going to be a dick about it. Uh, I also was watching an episode of Dateline, and
Sure.
I just had to mention this because they had all these lawyers in a room, and they were coming up with the defense for this guy that clearly did it. And the
Yeah.
defense lawyers do their interviews with Dateline, and they say like,
Hmm.
"Well, there was no proof that my client was even in that area." Blah blah blah. They take it very seriously, but then they
Hmm.
also showed behind the scenes them in their room coming up with their defense strategy. For whatever reason, they let a camera guy in there record the whole thing. And at
Yeah.
one point, the defense guy goes, "Okay, when they bring up the gun, okay, we have to distract the jury. Okay, just start talking about any old shit. Just distract them."
Distract,
That
distract
was
the
his
jury.
defense, and that was his. And the only thing somebody goes, "Hey, hey, buddy," and I thought they're gonna say, "Don't say that. Distract the jury by talking about shit." But the other guy goes, "Hey, hey, you can't swear. They're filming this." And he goes, "Oh, sorry. I won't swear. I forgot they were even here. They're like a fly on the wall to me." It killed me.
That's
Killed me.
amazing.
I know. I was just like, wow, there's no secrets. It's just like the defense is just like, just start waving your hands.
Distract.
Just start jingling your keys. That'll distract the stupid jury from thinking about the gun, that it's completely, we can't dispute the evidence. It's right there, but just distract them with fucking a clown. Let's bring a clown in. Anyways,
That's amazing that was their strategy. Not prove that the gun wasn't his.
and they didn't even
Distract the
mind
jury.
that it was being filmed. They were just like, "Don't, you can't swear." Like, I thought they'd be like,
Yeah.
"We're gonna get disbarred." And the crazy thing at the end of it, the one guy, one of the lawyers did get disbarred, not for this
Did he?
case, but something
For
else.
just
And it's
something
like
else. Yeah.
they were so shady, these fucking lawyers. That's it. Let's you want to talk some more about Roadhouse?
Um, Not really.
Oh, okay.
Do you have anything else to say?
Nope. Not if you don't.
Okay.
Let's end it then.
Well, I do need to make an apology. It's just a general apology because I've probably said this to a million people, probably including you. But I take back everything that I've ever said about caffeine-free Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi.
Wow. Okay. Coke
Because
will
I
hear your
used to
apology.
say, what's the fucking point of this? You don't get caffeine, you don't get sugar. What are we doing here? It's nothing. I believe
Yeah.
I've probably told you it's nothing. There's nothing there. But now I bought it. And I drink and I have to drink it.
Okay.
So I take it back. I'm sorry to everyone about caffeine-free Diet Pepsi or Diet Coke. Because now I'm drinking it. I never thought the day would come where I couldn't have caffeine or sugar, but apparently I'm at that point.
Wow. Okay. I don't ever remember your stance on caffeine-free beverages. So,
Not caffeine free, caffeine and diet. Caffeine free and diet.
oh,
Caffeine
okay.
free is fine. Diet was fine. But there's really nothing in it that's fun, but I'm still apparently gonna drink it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why.
Well, let's leave on that
Well, we
boring
have to say
note.
the movies. It was boring. We have to say the movies for next week.
Yeah.
Meek's Cut Off and The Spanish Prisoner.
All
For
right.
next week.
All right.
All right. Well, Adam, I will talk to you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.